guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go 2 different emails sent from subscribers, both dealing with the subject of guys that got married too young, the wrong gal, but eventually kicked them to the curb, and the second time around, doing great. Happy life with their families, happy life with their wives, they got themselves great girls, but took their knowledge from the first marriage and brought it in the second to make sure that the same thing didn't happen. And the overwhelming theme is, guys, is that things don't work out, you can move on. And how it's so important, guys, that your girl must know that if she crosses a line with you, you're out of there. So many problems in these stories I go through these relationships is the guy is so nice and accommodating and puts her on the pedestal that she thinks that no matter what she does, and usually it's disrespect and cheating, he's not going to go anywhere. And both these guys learn and handle it accordingly, and again are doing better in life. So this is one for the relationship guys out there that want to hear, because I know I got guys that are single, I got guys that will be happy being single the rest of their lives, and I also got relationship guys that do actually want to have a family and kids and all that, but they take the knowledge they learn here to help them make the things work out as best as possible. So definitely a good one here, and one of the stories is going to have an entertaining little twist to it. So for the first story, this guy says, "Hi SSM. I'm sharing my life journey for those that think they'll never find someone to share their life with, for those relationship guys. My course through life involved many challenges and some heartbreak." Well, nobody goes through life without challenges or heartbreak. And yes, of course, this is for the relationship guys that do want to find a gal, but have the knowledge out there, because, a lot of guys want families and all that. I'm 60 years old, and I grew up in the late 70s and early 80s. I came from a lower middle income family where my father worked and my mother stayed at home. We didn't have much, but we always ate and had clothes on our backs, and we went to church every Sunday and Wednesday. My version of relationships were old-fashioned, but that's all I knew at the time. So many guys go into that situation, and they're not prepared for the reality that is out there. They think mom and dad had a great relationship, so therefore, hey, I can have that too. I was always a husky kid and never had a girlfriend, let alone any of them interested in me. When I was in high school, I started playing sports as a vent for my frustrations. I focused solely on sports and how to use each sports season to prepare for the other sports season, football and track. This extra training caused me to make big changes in my appearance through my senior year, and I found that I had started getting attention from girls. In other words, you trimmed off body fat, you put on size and muscle. Yeah, girls like jack guys or just big guys that they can feel safe with. I was a nice guy and muscular, but I felt awkward when dealing with them. I finally had a girl, but knew that it would be short-lived as I was going into the military and had no expectations of being able to maintain a girlfriend once I was there. Well, thank the Lord for that. We all know what happens to guys that go into the service with girlfriends, let alone get married. I came back home for the holidays every 2 years or in between assignments and would see some local gals, but back then, I wanted sex but was afraid of commitment while still in the service. Well, you were very smart. I'm sure you saw a lot of guys get their hearts broken. I would do nice guy things like buying them flowers and going to the movies and making out, but was afraid of the next step in a relationship. Smack! Flowers, goodness sake. I finally lost my V card in Germany to a nice professional because it was legal. That's what a lot of guys used to do back in the day. No pressure. After that, I became more confident in my abilities, but still shield away from any commitment. It was on one of my visits home when my mother introduced me to my future wife at 23 years old. Of course, I know different now, but back then it was almost like a rite of passage to get married. Yeah, people got married younger back in the day. After I got out of the service and found a similar job in a bigger city, we welcomed our first child in 1992. After this, I had my first go-around with my spouse's major depression. This was a roller coaster ride for 3 years in which she didn't think she had a problem, and it was sexless for about 2 of those last 3 years. Okay, a lot of people have depression, runs in my family, but you have to deal with it. Problem is, a lot of people are in denial about things and don't want to do anything about it. And you not getting any ass for a couple of years, that's just unacceptable. You think if you stopped working for 2 years, she would allow that? And no money for her to spend on things? No. I didn't have the guts to ask for a divorce at the time and felt like a coward. I returned to working out and was able to gain the confidence I was missing for the past 8 years. The hardest part was the initial confrontation for the divorce, but I refused to live like that any longer and was doing it for myself. Good for you, man. You gotta take care of you, and I'm sure that wasn't easy. What a relief it turned out to be when I gained my freedom on my terms. I was heartsick whenever I would go visit my son and realize what damage it might have done to my son. I gave my ex everything, the house, the car, custody, as I needed to be free of constraints. I honored my responsibilities diligently. Yeah, and it wasn't easy, and you took a major hit, but you were miserable. But that's what happens to a lot of guys. Don't get married super young, guys, or, well, don't get married at all unless you got a prenup, and she's got a prenup, and there's no issues of duress or any of that crap. But even then, you're still going to take a hit. So be aware of this, gentlemen, if you're going to get married. That's why you got to do a lot of screening. That's why I say take years to get to know her and then move in with her and see what else she's like. You got to be very careful. So I soon found that in my early 30s and recently divorced, I was an attraction to some. I wasn't a hound dog, but I enjoyed my time. I continued working out and met an impressive woman at the gym. I know, too early, but something felt right and I went for it. We moved in together and discussed living together before anything else, engagement or marriage, was going to happen. How soon did you move? Notice he didn't say how quickly he moved in with her because he knew that I'd be smacking him. I wasn't going to commit until I knew exactly who this person was and she couldn't hide anything. Okay, there you've been around the block with divorce. You don't want to, make the same mistake twice. Take your time to get to know her and move it. Guys, for those of you that have lived with women, girlfriends, obviously wives if you're married, there's what she's like when you're dating, and then what she's like when you're moving in with her. And yeah, it's all the honeymoon period in the beginning, but eventually you start seeing the true colors. Good, bad, and in some cases very ugly. Needless to say, she was the right choice for me. After 28 years together and adding 2 beautiful daughters, our love is uncontested for each other. Hey, it worked out. Congratulations. Sure, we've aged gracefully, but whenever I look at her, I always see as the woman I married so long ago, regardless of age. That is not saying I'm a simp, but I love her conditionally, in that she loves me as much as I love her. Notice he says conditionally, not unconditionally. I have worked hard in my career and will always give her everything I have, but I've made it clear that any type of disrespect or acts of betrayal will be an instant end to the marriage. Good. Even at 60 years old, that still has to stand true. I've told her that I would not give her closure and will disappear for good and live quietly in another state far away. I won't need much for myself as I will not be interested in any more relationships. Good. Women have to know, guys, they cross the line, push you too far, boom, you're out of there, and you can do it like that. They have to know this, otherwise they're not going to respect you. It's unfortunate how it is. But I digress. I'm looking forward to my twilight years with my wife and hopefully grandchildren someday. Keep spreading the word for the young men out there as they are still looking for them, and that they will all know when it happens. Best regards. Well, that's a great story, my man. Yeah, unfortunately, you married the wrong girl, too young and all that. You learned the hard way, but then took your time. And let's be honest here. I think the combination of you learning from your mistakes and obviously standing up for yourself and taking your time, and of course, a little luck rolled in there definitely helped you out. So, congratulations. So, for the guys out there that, relationship guys, there you go. Now on to the main story with another guy who goes through some heartbreak, but in the end, but this is a little more of an interesting one. He says, Dear SSM, 41 years ago, my wife of 16 years and mother to my 4 children had an affair with, wait for it, another married woman. We were on a trip to a resort, and her friend, with her daughter, went with us. The 2 families were having a good time when my wife decided to break the news. Well, they were having too good of a good time. We were sitting on the bed together while all the kids and her friend, I call her Matilda, were at the pool. She proceeded to tell me that they were having sex together. I was so stunned that I didn't believe her. She acted as though I would be perfectly fine with this fling. I really kept saying I didn't believe her. Every guy out there is immediately thinking, what do they look like? If they're a bunch of blue-haired hippopotamuses, then of course, But if they're a couple babes, then okay, never mind. But no, that is not acceptable whether your wife or girlfriend's hooking up with another dude or another chick. But it's not as bad. I don't know. If this was me, it would hurt me more if it was another dude. But if she was some hot chick, yeah, it'd be kind of like Friends with Ross, his wife, and that. Not that chick was hot, but you get the point. Cheating's cheating, betrayal's betrayal, and I would kick her to the curb. But still, it wouldn't hurt as bad if it was with a good-looking chick. I know, I'm a dog, but I can't help myself. So I finally accepted it and asked if it was over, and she was confessing a past infatuation. Don't ask if it's over, it is over. Since I was not responding as expected, she told me that they decided it was wrong and they would just be friends. No. After you're cheating on me and having an affair, you're not going to be just friends with this chick. And yeah, right. That was not true. Their fling was not over and she was panicking. She tearfully said she was very sorry and she would break up the friendship if I wanted her to. I told her that would be the best to break it off. I really never felt threatened because it was with a woman and she was acting like she felt very guilty about it. She was putting on a performance, dude. For some reason, I thought it was just stupid and she was just temporarily flipped out. By the way, no, I never thought about joining them. Well, we all want to know what they look like. See, he's another one. Didn't bother him as much because it was with another chick. But still, cheating's cheating, betrayal's betrayal. She was just cheating on you, but also the kids. Torpedoing the marriage so she can get some tuna? I mean, no. So time went by and I hadn't heard anything and everything was normal. Smack! Should have ended with her. We all know what's going to happen. It should be noted that there wasn't even a hint of problem with our marriage. She was a stay-at-home mom and I brought in all the money. Well, there is the problem. She's bored. She's at home with nothing to do. She adored and took care of the kids, kept the house, cooked, etc. without complaint. 3 kids were all under 10 years old. We hadn't had our 4th one yet. The oldest is mentally handicapped. A few weeks later, I was told by one of the kids that they went over to Matilda's house and were left in the car for an hour while their mom visited Matilda. What the fuck? I went through the roof. When confronted, my wife Mary, not her real name, just said it was just another fling. Well, these flings were getting unflingy, and I was very confused. What'd I tell you? You need to end it. And I get it. You were shocked and blindsided, and the kids and all that, but since I grew up in a very broken home, I swore that would never happen to my kids. They grew up in a nuclear family, no matter what. Mary was counting on my commitment and was taking advantage of my resolve to enjoy her protected fling. See, she knew. This is why I say, guys, like in the other story, women have to know they crossed the line, you're out of there, no matter what, even if you grew up in a broken home. Because guess what? It's broken because she's cheating on you. And throwing her right out, she doesn't care. I also never said anything about this fling to the kids. They were too young to take it in. Obviously, since I didn't bust on her, she knew she was getting away with it. In the meantime, she got pregnant. Okay, for a second I'm thinking, how? Obviously I'm assuming, your child, since she likes the fish tacos. They remained clandestine lovers and sneaked time together. Her husband knew nothing. He was much wiser than me. As soon as he found out, he immediately moved out and got a divorce. Matilda was not that attractive anyway. Okay, now we know. Don't smack me too harshly. I hung in for 2.5 years believing her lies about breaking up. Smack! Too late. Then when she had our last child, she announced that they were still lovers and that it would be permanent. See? So I moved out, got a small apartment, and informed her that she should renew her nursing license and get back to work. Say that again. She was a nurse, or at least she was a nurse before he got married. She became a stay-at-home cheat. Shocker. I told her to meet me for breakfast. She brought Matilda with her. Oh, for God's sakes. That way you can't be mean and yell at her. When I told her I was divorcing her at breakfast, I mistakenly thought that she'd be fine with that. After she threw a glass of water in my face, I dried off and left. She's cheating on you repeatedly. And then you're ending it with her and she's throwing a glass of water in your face? Really? She really thought I would come to my senses and come home and live out this threesome arrangement. Because her perception of you is that you were a weak jackass and you would put up with it, which you did initially. I told her that I would let her have custody as the kids were so young. I would see them every Thursday and every other weekend, knowing she would want me to get the kids more often so she could continue with Matilda. Back then in the South, it was not acceptable to raise kids in a that type of home. Hint, I gotta watch what I say here. And I knew I could get a judge to get the kids if she didn't straighten up. Sure enough, she broke up with Matilda. But to her dismay, I found out another amazing woman who was willing to take me on. With a solid job, a 10-year-old of her own who wanted someone who was as committed to marriage as I am. You got involved with a single MOM? Smack! Now, obviously this works out for him, but still, trading one bad situation for another is not ideal here. My new wife has always been an incredible lover, keeps an insanely clean home, can cook as good as a famous chef, and a bonus, she's beautiful, thin, 5'6", 120 pounds. We've been happily married for 35 years. Great. Here come the sirens. That's great, man. I'm really happy for you. You lucked out, just like the guy in the other story. I broke out and started making real money 20 years ago. We live in a beautiful 4,400 square foot home, drive 2 new Lexuses, debt-free, and I still run 2 successful businesses with my wife's help. Bro, that's awesome. That's a big house. Now, at 4,400, is that like, are you factoring in the garage and the patio and all that, or just like the main part of the house? You know, sometimes, it can be a little different. That's a big freaking house. And that's a big heating bill and a lot of air conditioning bills, but fair enough, it's your house. We have a daughter together who lived until age 19 when she had a brain bleed and passed away. Oh my God. I'm so sorry, man. Our marriage survived that immense tragedy. Our hearts are mended as we fought together to get through it. We have 14 grandkids. Oldest is 22. 14 grandkids? Because I know you had multiple kids from your first marriage. Oh, now I know why you had the 4,400 square. My God, you need that for the holidays and all. We also got a couple bonuses. A business partner who I mentored and is 20 years my junior adopted himself and his wife and his kids into our family. He calls me Dad. Also, the daughter who passed away had a boyfriend in the Marines. He moved in with us and married a mutual friend of our daughter's. They also call us Mom and Dad. Everyone lives within an hour away. We see most of them every week. They all own businesses and are all doing very well, never needing money from me. That's great, man. Obviously, you're a mentor to them all. Guys, if you have the skills and the ambition and the ability to take risks and a mentor to help you along the way to start your own business and can make a comfortable living doing so, do so. It's great. But again, you got to be able to take risks. Got to be really good at what you do. You got to be ambitious and driven and have a good mentor right here. Businesses. The real reason I wrote this story for you and didn't fill in an hour of morbid details was to say that women haven't really changed much except by percentage. Many more women today appear to be like my first wife. What a terrible shame. The pain and suffering is just plain and sad and unnecessary. I agree. And where do you think they're getting these bad ideas from? The second reason is that I believe there's hope for men who really want a solid family with a good lady and amazing, well-adjusted kids. There may be fewer of them, but they are out there. It makes no sense to be treated so poorly by mindless, selfish women who feel entitled to whatever they want to well-meaning and committed husbands. Women like that don't care about the walking wounded they leave in their wake, including their own kids. Absolutely. I've done thousands of videos on this subject. Of course, she blamed me for not trying hard enough to make the marriage work. Of course she blamed you. You were the bad guy. It's always the man's fault. She even spent years trying to make the kids hate me. It did not work. They want it all. They will drain the life right out of you and make you miserable. Don't take it. Just suck it up and start a new life. Yes. And in her case, you're actually licking it up. But anyhow, yes, this is why I said early on, get out of there. But I know you're blindsided and you didn't want to hurt the kids, but inevitably you divorced anyway. I gave it my best, but it wasn't meant to be. I do believe you should be satisfied that you tried to sincerely make it work. When you break free, just chalk up as a bad original choice, then move on with the same resolve. But with someone worthwhile, it doesn't pay to be bitter and change into someone like them. You can keep your character and survive. That's a very good point. I do disagree that being single is a better choice. I also know that there are decent women that don't behave this way. My daughters don't. My daughters' in-laws don't. They're all over 34 years old now and are totally well-adjusted, married for many years. Well, that's great, but I have to be a little skeptical. Let me rephrase that. I would believe that you, being a great dad and your wife raising them all well, but you can't just say it could never happen in my family because you just never know. But I hope yours is the exception. And that part of saying being single is not the best choice. Well, there are a whole lot of guys in this channel, including moi, who very much enjoy the single life and have no interest in getting married, hell, even relationships, But hey, but also a lot of married dudes in here, relationship guys, and to each their own, just be careful. But believe me, the single life is good for many. My kids and now grandkids are an immense joy. My wife is not just a great mom and grandmom, but my absolute best friend. My wife and I do fuss occasionally, but mostly because I don't care care for myself as well as I should, and she doesn't want to lose me. Isn't that great? P.S. I'm a devoted Christian, and so is my entire family. Well, I think a lot of people could use some more religion, the good, positive aspects of religion in their lives. That is definitely something that has been lost over time. But anyhow, I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers with that. Guaranteed you bring up religion. And I'm saying something positive here. But anyhow, bro, I'm sorry what you went through your first marriage, but eventually it led to your second, and you got yourself a great gal. You lucked out, but I'm sure it was luck and also experience that made it work out, and that's great. I'm glad you're having a great life. And so for the relationship guys out there, something to learn from both stories here. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.